Kids love to ask for things, don't they? They have a lot of requests. Can I have a new toy? Can we get ice cream after dinner? Stuff like this. And this is, something you hear a lot when they're young. But as they get older, the requests tend to get a little bigger and a little bit more complicated. I'll give you an example. So it's Sunday morning, you're sipping on your coffee, it's a beautiful day outside, kids are just getting up. Your son comes out of the bedroom and runs into the kitchen and says, "Mom, can we get a dog?" And immediately in your mind, how do I answer this question? It's not a yes or no. It's not like the ice cream. This is a complicated one. Who's going to feed the dog? Who's going to take care of the dog? Where are we going to get a dog? Et cetera, et cetera. Now, this is just one example, and I like it a lot because it's a good one. But there are many, many other similar big requests that come up as kids get older, and I'll throw out just a few examples. It could be, hey, can we host a foreign exchange student? Or I want to get a drum set and take drum lessons. Or could be, I'd like to get a driver's license. Can I get my learner's permit? Et cetera, et cetera. There's many of these. And as parents, this puts us into a little bit of a spot because, as you drill down on it a little bit, there are a lot of different moving pieces to these questions. And simply put, it's not a yes or no answer. You've got to sort things out a little bit before moving forward. So in these kinds of examples, I came up with a technique that was very effective. You might find it a little unusual. You might think, well, it's a little awkward, or you might think, well, this just isn't me. I couldn't do this. But stick with it for just a second. It's got a lot of advantages, and it's worked out well in our home. So when my kids would come in with a big request like this, and it wasn't that often, but it did happen on occasion, and I knew they were serious about it, and they did require a reasonable response from my wife and I. What I would say is, if I knew they were serious, I would say, you know what? Write me a proposal. Write me a proposal. Make me a proposal. I would tell them, they would say, well, what's a proposal? And I would explain it. It's pretty simple. It's got like 3 parts. What are you asking for? That's no brainer. The second thing is, think about how this is going to affect our family. What are going to be the new jobs? What are the new things that are going to be happening in our family if we go ahead and move in this direction that you're asking for? And number 3, and this follows on number 2, with these new responsibilities, what are you going to do to make a contribution? What contribution are you going to make? So those are the 3 components. Simple. Title, what are the new things that are going to be happening, and what are you going to do to try to make this as easy as possible and seamless for the family? So again, you might think, well, this is just kind of crazy for them to do a proposal. But stick with it a little bit. These proposals, I always ask for in writing, usually about 1 page, and I give them a time frame. And we'll circle back to that in just a second, but I want to sell you on this idea a little bit. This has 4 key advantages for us as parents. Number 1, when we ask for a proposal and we give a time frame of like 4 or 5 days to have it done, it gives us time. It gives us time to make a considered sort of examination of the request. We can talk to our spouse about it. We can talk to our other siblings about it maybe. We can talk to our children about it. Friends, might do a little research online, learn about the ins and outs of whatever request is being made, get some knowledge. So it gives us a couple days to cook on things a little bit without just kind of pushing our kids off or maybe making kind of a hasty answer because we just want to throw something out there, yes or no. So that's number 1, gives us time. Number 2, it gives our child a chance to really think about what's going to go into this request. How much work is it going to be? And when they go through that process of really considering it, and we ask them to consider it seriously, not just something dashed off quickly, but put some effort into this, they might think of things that are, game changers for them. Maybe they don't want to move ahead in this direction. Maybe when they find out, going back to the dog, maybe when they find out how much work this pet is going to be, maybe they're going to have second thoughts about it. So it gives them a chance to think about things. And I'll tell you something surprising. When I've done this with my kids, frequently they will come up with a couple of things that I haven't even thought of or my wife hasn't thought of, which is kind of cool because they're looking at it from their viewpoint. So sometimes they see valuable and important things that we don't. So that's another useful point. Number 3, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, one of the biggest advantages to doing this is very simple. It's in writing. In writing is good. So you think about how these things frequently occur in a family. Going back to the pet story, the dog. The parent will, consider this thought that the child has, consider this request. Maybe you have a couple kids there, and the parent's saying, okay, so are you going to walk the dog? Kids are nodding. Enthusiastically, right? Are you going to wash the dog every Saturday of the month? Kids are nodding. Yes, sure, absolutely no problem. Are you going to feed the dog? Yes, we'll feed the dog. And then the decision is made. And we know how this turns out a couple weeks or a couple months down the road. Probably a couple weeks down the road. It's more like, Andrew, you haven't walked the dog. She needs to go out now. It's that kind of deal. Or the dog's by the refrigerator looking to get fed and the kids are off doing something, playing a video game or something. It becomes our responsibility. And that's not what we want. That's not what we signed up for. We want to have as much of this, reasonably, as much of this being taken care of by our kids, if that's what they're requesting, as possible. If they're going to increase our workload in the house, we want them to share a reasonable amount of that increased workload, especially if it was their idea in the first place, right? So that's number 3. You get it in writing. So getting it in writing is really good. If things break down a little bit, which is highly likely to happen, you can point to that written proposal that you've put up on the bulletin board or on the refrigerator and said, well, what's item number 2 that you wrote down there? I thought we had an understanding. That's a lot different than you told me that you would walk the dog. And then Andrew says, sorry, Andrew. Andrew says, well, Mom, I didn't know that was every day. So in writing, good. 4th thing, very minor point, very small point, but I think worth mentioning, and that is proposals are something that a lot of us encounter later on in life. You go out in the business world and you figure out what a proposal is. You might have to review proposals or write proposals. So it's not a bad thing to learn about at a younger age, and it's got a usefulness. So those are the advantages to us. Just to review real quick. Number 1, it gives us time. Number 2, our kids really get to think out something considered. 3, it's in writing. And 4th, it's not bad to know what a proposal is and do one at a younger age. So there are the components there. Let's just take a quick look at what goes into the proposal. As I said before, about 1 page in writing, not a text message, not an email to mom and dad, in writing. Now it can be printed out on a printer or it can be hand lettered, but I like to see one, maybe a little longer than one if it's complicated, page or pages that are written out that parents can actually review. Everybody can review this together. It's a family document, really. So that's one component. Item number 2, time frame. Very easy for a child when they're really enthusiastic about an idea. You tell them to go do a proposal. They run off into their bedroom, and 20 minutes later, they're back with this piece of paper with everything written out, or what they think is everything. No, that's not what we want. We want a 4 or 5 day time frame, because we tell our kids, we want a good job here. We want you to think out everything that's going to occur because of this request that you're making. We want you to really think about it, put some effort into it, and if you don't, we're going to have you revise it or redo it. So it's not going to work if it's just a quick effort that doesn't have any thought into it. So that's why we do the 4 or 5 day time frame. So those are the basic components of it. Pretty simple. The final part is reviewing the proposal when it comes in. So 4 or 5 days later, your child enthusiastically comes to you, you see this thing is printed out or handwritten, and you look at it and say, that looks pretty good. Need to take it seriously. They've made a serious effort to put energy into doing what we requested for them to do. We need to review it and respect their effort. And that means that we do it fairly promptly. We don't put it off to the next day or later in the weekend or in the next week. We don't ignore it. We take it seriously. We get into a space, create this sort of conversational space that I've talked about, sit down in the family room, Bring in siblings if you think that's important, their siblings. Bring in your spouse if you think that's significant, and discuss the items. Go through the proposal line item by line item and just read them off and describe and discuss. And then make a decision. And I think that you'll find that this is a pretty effective way of just kind of organizing this big request that's come into your home. And yes, it does take some time. You're going to have to explain what a proposal is to your child. That's probably 10 minutes. You're going to have to sit down and review it. That's probably 25 or 30 minutes. So inside of an hour investment in time, you should be able to have this done. If you think about it, you're going to invest time either way. But if you invest this time up front, I think that you're going to have a much better chance of not walking that dog during raining nights as you would if you didn't do a proposal at all. So I recommend it's been good in our family. So thanks for watching, and hope this is useful in raising your great kids.